In that day shall a man cast his idols of silver and his idols of gold, which they made every one for himself to worship, to the moles and to the bats, to go into the clefts of the rocks and into the tops of the ragged rocks, for fear of the Lord, for the glory of his majesty, when he riseth to shake terribly the earth. Cease ye from man whose breath is in his nostrils, for wearied is he to be accounted of.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to Line by Line Bible Studies. Oh, I should have left. Katie, would you please come in and close that door for me? All right, my microphone sounds pretty hot. Okay, anyways, let's begin reading. As soon as we get that noise taken care of, be good. I guess, wait a moment. Maybe I should just go do it. Hold on. It's a good thing I wear pants, right? All right. I have to have a special pillow under my arm. Not for comfort, but for, well, it'd be extremely discomforting. All right, so let's begin reading. And I need my text. Okay. Verse 1. This is, you know what? There we go. I'll back off this a little bit. There we go. You know what? Let's go. There we go. All right. Verse 1. Better is the poor that walketh in his integrity than he that is perverse in his lips and is a fool. Also that the soul be without knowledge, it is not good. And he that hasteth with his feet sinneth. The foolishness of man perverteth his way. And his heart fretteth against the Lord. Wealth maketh many friends, but the poor is separated from his neighbor. A false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaketh lies shall not escape. Many will entreat the favor of the prince, and every man is a friend to him that giveth gifts. Some of these are meant ironically, meaning it's saying these things are true, but it's not saying they're good. Pardon me. This is like, all right, whatever. All the brethren of the poor do hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? He pursueth them with words, yet they are wanting to him. He that getteth wisdom loveth his own soul. He that keepeth understanding shall find good. A false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaketh lies shall perish. Delight is not seemly for a fool, much less for a servant to have rule over princes. The discretion of a man deferreth his anger, and it is his glory to pass over a transgression. The king's wrath is as the roaring of a lion. You know, all right. The king's wrath is as a roaring of a lion, but his favor is as a dew upon the grass. A foolish son is the calamity of his father, and the contentions of a wife are a continual dropping. That means dripping. Means annoyance. House and riches are the inheritance of fathers, and a prudent wife is from the Lord. Slothfulness casteth into a deep sleep, and an idle soul shall suffer hunger. He that keepeth the commandment keepeth his own soul. But he that despiseth his ways shall die. He that hath pity on the poor, he that hath pity upon the poor, lendeth to the Lord. And that which is, and that which he hath given will he pay him again. That's like pay it forward, right? Chasten thy son while there is hope, and let not thy soul spare for his crying. A man of great wrath shall suffer punishment, for if thou deliver him, yet thou must do it again. Hear counsel and receive instruction, that thou mayest be wise in thy latter end. There are many devices in man's heart. Nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord, that he shall... There are many devices in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord, that shall stand. The desire of a man is his kindness. A poor man is better than a liar. The fear of the Lord tendeth to life, and he that hath it shall abide satisfied. He shall not be visited with evil. A slothful man hideth his hand in his, and will not so much as bring it to his mouth again. Smite a scorner, and the simple will beware. Prove one that hath understanding, and he will understand knowledge. He that wasteth his father, and chaseth away his mother, is a son that causeth shame, and bringeth reproach. Cease, my son, to hear the instruction that causeth to err from the words of knowledge. An ungodly witness scorneth judgment, and the mouth of the wicked devoureth iniquity. Judgments are prepared for scorners, and stripes for the backs of fools, or for the back of fools. Judgments are prepared for scorners, and stripes for the back of fools. Another really great chapter with a lot of different wisdom going different directions. Bear is the poor that walketh with his integrity, than he that is perverse lips and is a fool. And it doesn't even, and of course, it also implies that has money. The fool and his money are soon parted, as we know. I don't remember if that's an actual proverb. I think that's actually P.T. Barnum, actually. But it, honestly, that could P.T. Barnum might earn a spot there in the Proverbs with that one, because it's true. So better, and it goes to a lot of these things it says about the poor. The poor is separated from his neighbor, right? But because poverty has negative effects on you, right? But there's different kinds of wealth. That's why I always say it's like I don't really count myself as a poor man. I mean, I do. I know that I'm poor in a certain sense, but I'm not as poor as many, especially when you go on a global scale. On a global scale, I'm doing really well. A lot better than most folks on the planet. I'm in the, 10%, 1% of the planet? I don't know. I know something small percent of the planet that lives as well as we do in this country. A lot of countries it was getting better. But I don't, right now, whatever. But the integrity you have, we should not, I don't, like I said, the things when my selective poverty is kind of by design. So I don't, it was a choice. It's not like something that there's something could be done about it. Do something about that, right? I could put more will and effort into making money. It's a question of division of your labor and time and what you have in this world. So, and plus, truthfully, not being incredibly great with it and making mistakes over time. Most of my regrets in life are times I lost money. Basically lost it. I got basically nothing in return for money. Every overdraft fee. I guess you get something for that. You get like a moment, But I'm thinking of the ones where it was like, I made that deposit, but it didn't count till the next day. Stuff like that. I've had money taken from me on so many different ways. Ripped off, And afterwards I'd feel so angry and ashamed for being ripped off. But you try to grow in wisdom. I've learned a lot. I'm much more difficult to take advantage of than I was when I was young. But still, they get me. Like, for example, I bought an altar, and it failed within 6 months. And it's, dealing with it, don't go to the online auto parts guys. Don't buy I'm sure you're all into fixing your cars, right? Don't buy them. Go to your store locally. It's a lot easier to deal with returns, warranty issues. You have a person in front of you. And also a lot of the cores can't be returned because they're too big and the cost of mailing them back and all that stuff. I got so ripped off on that. $200, you know? Other ways. You know, which money goes down the tubes, you know? And that's maybe that's my foolishness in the ways of finance. Some of it is. Other, you know, maybe it's naivety at times. It has been, surely. Inexperienced way in the past, yes. Maliciousness from others, occasionally. You know, occasionally. I mostly blame myself for mistakes because the wicked are the wicked. They're going to be there and they're going to be doing wicked things. I should know better and evade them and prayerfully, you know, to some degree. Right? I mean, I can't change them. I can only control myself and how I react to the situation, any situation. That's what I say, your integrity, your self-control. I don't know if that's what it means, but it's, when I think of integrity, like the idea of physical integrity, like something doesn't fall apart. Like you have a car. You want to have it to be integrated all together in one piece so it doesn't like fall apart as you drive along, right? You have structural integrity and moral integrity, obviously, is what this is referring to. Let's see what the Hebrew word is. Tome, which is actually would be a lot better translated in my mind. At least not better, actually. Integrity is a great way to translate this, as far as I'm concerned. But it is an interpretation. The word, as soon as I forget where my browse internet thing. There we go. The word is this word tome. It says Tom, but it's going to be tome in a second as soon as I scroll down. Hold on, give me a back. There we go. All right. Tome or tome. I don't know what that means, actually. I'd have to see the phonetic guide. I don't know if I'm supposed to make that long then. But it's probably not Tom. Probably tome. Completeness, integrity, also part of the high priest's breastplate. It was referred to that was the place of whatever that was. But completeness, if you may recognize in the Greek New Testament, the word that's often translated perfection is completeness, because that's perfection is that's the idea of coming to complete. But I suppose I'm going to trust that the translators are saying, you know, when they say this, that this probably better goes into English as integrity than the Greek word. Maybe it goes more into perfection. I'm willing to go with them on that. I like it being translated integrity. But it does have the idea of like I said, structural integrity. You're not missing nuts and bolts here. You're put together, spiritually put together. You know what I mean? Not like, you know, just like physically put together. You want to be physically strong, physically fit. You want your car to have, you want it to be mechanically sound. You don't want to have the wheels fall off, for goodness sake, right? So also, you don't want the wheels to fall off of your Christian walk. It's like you can deal with poverty, you can deal with suffering, you can deal with a lot of things, but you can't deal with the loss of integrity. And that is the completeness. When we're incomplete. Now, we are complete in Christ, it says. So and the thing is, what happens is you hear that and you think like, wow, then how can I ever have problems being complete in Christ, right? How does that still happen? You know, there's so many scriptures like you can't serve two masters. You know, you're going to hate the one, love the, you know, all these very absolute, be perfect as your Father is perfect. There's a lot of absolute scriptures like that, right? And it puts on you this thing, but at the same time, we're told over and over again that Christ has paid for all our sins. Now, like I said, it should not be. We have to leave behind sins of the past, you know. But it's not for your salvation. It's because of salvation. Where do you think you're going? We're going to heaven, right? I mean, quote unquote heaven, right? Paradise. The new heavens and the new earth. We're going to God's throne. You know, we know that we'll be wearing garments that are white as snow, which are representing of the righteousness. And so, you know, I know this is something, like I said, when I walk in my integrity. And what does that mean? So what does that mean? How does a Christian who is still subject to passions walk in this? That's what I'm trying to get at. Because that's the part. It's the part where the contradiction exists for a bit. And otherwise there wouldn't be scriptures like in in Galatians chapter 5 where it says, if a brother be overtaken in a fault, ye that are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, lest ye also be tempted. A brother can be literally overtaken. That means caught. He didn't even confess. You catch him. And we always afford greater forgiveness to those who confess, do we not? Even in the legal form, confession is considered a mitigating factor in sentencing and stuff, especially if they indicate remorse and they're completely truthful and cooperative. Oftentimes, confession is this path to actual mercy. But when people are caught, we're still told if a brother be overtaken in a fault. And sometimes people have faults, and they haven't worked them out yet because we don't have the power of ourselves to be perfect. We have an imputed righteousness whereby God looks at us as perfect and deals with us as such, but he does not. Oh, I and many others in many points in our walk have been infused with power to leave behind sins that have maybe plagued us for many long years, and people do. And I'm not going to say it's impossible, because I do know that the thing is, it doesn't matter if you never sin again. You've already sinned. It's not a question of that. It matters in a sense, well, you will never sin again. That's going to happen. You will never sin again because God's kingdom is coming, right? We know that. And so since that's part of the goal, it's effectively the goal, actually. Sinlessness is the state by which everlasting life is possible. It's not possible to live forever in sin. And the only way it's possible for us is because of the blood of Jesus. All right. But the integrity of the poor. We must maintain our integrity. And what it means is hold fast to the things you've already obtained and seek to gain more. That's absolute. Why would you do anything else? I can't stomach people that preach this sort of anti. It's they're against. I think it's just they want people. What is they serve Satan? It can only be, and they don't want. It is not in their mind to actually have people becoming more like Christ. It's more of their goal just to have more people come into their church. Is a rich old fool. Perverse lips, lying, cheating, stealing, all that stuff. But also, there's a lot of perversities of the lips. Like I said, I remember Willow Creek Church. Bill Hybels, Mr. Big Shot, built his church in the richest neighborhood in my area. Huge church with all the rich people coming, right? And of course, a lot, it comes out years later. Oh yeah, he's sexually making comments to the women and stuff who work for him. Just absolutely. That's what happened. People in just like Ravi Zacharias, these leaders, they get their heads filled up with themselves. And they have perverse lips and rich bank accounts. And people look at them and they see their success and they think, well, we'll follow that guy. He's a devil. These devils, in the name of Jesus, you can't spot them. They're everywhere. The ministry is filled with them. What do you think the end times are going to look like? There's going to be all kinds of great preachers out there? They're garbage. Yeah. Lord's going to have to really scrape the bottom of the barrel this time. Come up with any kind of profit. All right. Perverse lips. Yeah, because we need lips of integrity. Lips that speak the truth. Also, that the soul be without knowledge. It is not good. He that hasteth with his feet sinneth. Well, we all have to have knowledge. And we got to, that's, and there is a, being too hasty. I always said that we have in English a saying, right? I'm sure this is through many languages, right? Look before you leap. We also have another saying that says, he who hesitates is lost. Carpe diem, seize the day, right? There is sometimes there's a moment you must seize upon. And it passes you by. And you don't ever get a chance again to speak up or do whatever it is you were called to do in that moment. And sometimes that's just a lesson you got to learn. Don't beat yourself up permanently over things. There's no point. You have the faith of Christ. Trust in his salvation. We trust in his salvation to continually maintain us. And he also is going to help us. As willing participants with him, we can obtain all that we desire, all the knowledge. And for me, knowledge is not just 1 + 1 = 2. It's more like, how does a man order his steps in this world according to God's will? That knowledge, every step. I want to know everything. We can't be without knowledge. Knowledge comes in all forms. Most critical knowledge is the knowledge of the Lord in his fear. To know the fear of the Lord. Because that is what drives you into the arms of Jesus. Because if you didn't get driven into the arms of Jesus through fear for the sin, I don't know. On some level, well, I guess, there's, that's sometimes that's what happens to converts. I was thinking about my kids being raised. I'm like, okay, they're not driven by fear. But there is a sort of a fear. I fear lest a promise being left behind that some of you should fail to enter in. Sometimes. But even them, like I said, I feel like I see things happening to them as adults that make me feel good about the way they were raised. Spiritually. Spiritually good things. See hunger and not fullness. I see desire and not boredom. That's what, you don't want your kids to be over-religionized or whatever, filled up with all this stuff that doesn't really mean anything. Because I went to churches and stuff, there's a lot of meaningless activity. I mean, there could be meaning in it. If you try it, you have to insert the meaning. You have to make it meaningful. Because it can so easily become meaningless garbage. I've been where I'm sitting around, here we are gathered together, we're all believers in Jesus, we're here on his holy day, the holy Sabbath day, even these people are zealous about it, and all they can think to talk about is their mud flaps and their pickup trucks. That's all they got. So I don't mind talking about, do I like talking about it? No. I hate working on cars. What did I say, like working on cars? I don't. I kind of hate it. I like that I know about it, though. I like that I know what I'm doing. I like that I understand how they work. I like that I can maintain them. I like that. It's not, the work itself, I'm a bit big for a mechanic, I think. My hands don't fit into tiny little places too well. And also I have a lot of claustrophobia. I guess sometimes I don't like going under cars. I don't have a lift. Whatever. That'd be funny. What? There's no pastor who's going to give you a Bible study. And I'm not a pastor, per se. I'm not a shepherd of sheep. I'm a breaker of flocks. Also, that the soul be without knowledge, it is not good. He that hasteth with his feet sinneth. Yep. You gotta be thoughtful. Have knowledge. What this indicates is if you have knowledge, you're going to know not to go too fast when you need to. When it's time to be patient. And because there is a time for hate. Absolutely. But that without knowledge, how will you know? How will you know? I was going through a thought of a way I could relate this to car repairs, but I'm not going to. I thought, you know what? I could see a way, but it's just so pointless. It's not necessary. All right, the foolishness of man perverteth his, but his heart fretteth against the Lord. Yeah, man, we don't, foolishness. What is fool? We had the word, let's see, foolishness is ivileth, folly, right? We saw that word before. I haven't scrolled down in a while. Well, we weren't really. Our foolishness is sort of the lack of knowledge. Because without knowledge, we are foolish. We're bound to be. Unless we are, well, here's, if you don't have knowledge, you have to pay good attention to that verse. Watch your feet. Don't haste. When you don't know what you're doing, take it slow, right? I mean, isn't that what that's saying, basically? If you're without knowledge, it's not good. And if you try to rush it, you're going to miss the mark. Period. And that's a really good piece of advice when you don't know, because your foolishness will pervert your way. You're not going to do the right, it's going to go wrong. And that's the thing is I've gone into a lot of areas. I've done plumbing. I've done electrical. I've done automotive. I've done carpentry. I produce music. I produce videos. A lot of other stuff. I garden. I'm good at, not just garden. I do, I can, I do plant cloning and stuff like that. I do serious gardening, right? clone my own plants, clone my own bushes, stuff like that. I'm serious into that stuff. I like it. I bred dogs once. Not really. That was pretty easy. I like breeding children. Easier though. I wasn't involved. Anyways, but I've gotten into those things, and when I've gotten into them, I've often gotten into trouble. And because like I was converting a building for use. We had a building it needed an updated plumbing system. It needed an updated. The electric wasn't a big deal. It needed electric put in. I had torn all the electric out. I needed to because it was all bad. And so as I'm planning the drainage system, I'm doing and I'm like really never done this before, and I'm going slow. Still screwed up. I had to undo parts, redo parts. Even in the end, now that I'm done with it, I wish I'd done it some other way. But that was a learning experience. And it's very and it's not a sin against the Lord, but I missed my mark. The mark of perfection I wanted to obtain in that thing that I was doing. Because I strive for perfection in all things. I don't know why I wouldn't. Not all things, but in all things. I mean, like pray all times and all that kind of stuff. Those are figures of speech. That's figure of speech, that's a figure of speech, meaning, just like when we say everyone was there, that's used a lot in the Bible. That's one of the problems with people overemphasizing certain verses. I've even demonstrated it in certain places. Careful. Wealth, his heart fretteth against the Lord. Well, yeah, you know what? Because I know it. You say, Lord, why'd you let this happen to me? Why'd you let this happen to me? I was trying to do plumbing and it went wrong. I don't go to the Lord like that. I don't blame the Lord for my problem. I know better. I ask the Lord for help all the time. He always helps me. I got to remember that. The Lord, you always help me. I need more help, but you always help me. Maybe I don't need more help. Maybe I just need more gifts. Or maybe my gifts need to wake up a little more. Or I don't know what. But I'll go to the Lord. I certainly don't go against him in my thoughts, But sometimes I suppose, sometimes, what are the ways your heart can fret against the Lord? Let's look at this fretting. Za'af, apparently. In the good old Hebrew, za'af, to be vexed, to be enraged. Primitive root, vexed or be enraged. And so what was the context? Yeah, fretteth is way too missing it then, right? The disconnect threw me off because they translated that fretteth. He's enraged against the Lord. His heart becomes angry with God. Because we do foolish things and we go astray and then we blame God because the universe works that way. That when you do stupid stuff, you get, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. That's it. And people want to blame God, but it's not God's fault. You're just not paying attention. You're not paying attention. And I miss things all the time. I get it. It's not his fault that I'm faulty. I mean, you could say God could say, because that's the thing. It's like, it goes back to like Isaiah 29. They say, what are you doing, God? You're not making me right. And he's like, are you kidding me? Because who replies against their maker? He's making you. You understand? If he made something different, that it wouldn't be you, that you're the faulty thing. You're the problem. You are the problem. I'm the problem. We're all the problem because we're all problems. We're all sinners. People don't like the modern age, they want to say we're all beautiful and bold. It's full of garbage. You're not beautiful and bold. You're disgusting and weak. That's not the way we are. And God, in his just amazing mercy and grace, created us, disgusting though we are, with the intention of elevating some, because he didn't have too much stomach for this. Obviously, he didn't want all of us. I'm thinking about that. That's how close it is on the line to where we would just be lost forever. Apparently, that's why I look at it, because there are a few that be saved. It's in the grand scheme of things. Certainly, there's going to be, billions, no doubt. Billions saved, but billions lost. Few there be that find it. Also, there's a considering of the potential. I only had 8 children. I could have 80. Technically. Probably have to get another wife and all that stuff. We don't want to do that. That's for sinners. Like I said, I don't go for that. That's not Christian righteousness. Not. That's like legalism. God, you went back to the law to pull that one out of your head because Jesus, what he said about it. Come on. He didn't even approve of divorce. Kidding me? 2 wives? He look at you like, in his day, it wasn't a common thing. And he said what he thought about it. All right, let's go on. So yeah, you get angry with the Lord. There's no point in it. We don't have an argument against him because your existence is already an act of mercy because you don't really deserve to exist. Don't really deserve. And God, you didn't earn it, and God has brought it to being. You, whom he finds worthy of destruction, worthy of death, not worthy of the life that you've been given. But even in spite of our unworthiness, he so loved the world that he'd made that he sent his only begotten son, that whosoever would believe on him, that select group, would be saved, would not perish, but have everlasting life. Wealth maketh many friends. Poor is separated from his neighbor. And, that's like a proverb. It's like it's not saying it's good. It's just how things are. That's human. That's a commentary on human nature. People with money, raw people. They kind of. And also the thing is, you can't. Money enables you to do things that I can't do. Like if someone wanted to invite me, hey, let's our families go and have some fun together. I'd be like, I can't. I can't. I don't have a vacation money. I don't even have mortgage money some months. So that's just the way it goes. And the poor is separated from his neighbor. Yeah, nobody really, I gotta say, I don't have a lot of friends. I don't have a lot of friends. The only friends I have don't really know how poor I am. But they look more on the wealth of my family. Because I am a wealthy man in the sense of I have 7 sons, a daughter, and 7 sons. And a beautiful wife. Very attentive of, like I said, proverb about here coming up. I would apply to my wife. She's a prudent woman. I've got all these blessings and people see it. And so I have friends that value those things, but people that are into money like that. Yeah. I don't live in an area like that anyways. I guess there's people with money around because we have some big farmers. They don't like to think of themselves as rich. They like to think of themselves as cowboys. So they don't quite, it's not the same vibe. They like to buy their 4-wheel vehicles and drive them around. And, they have a lot of, I see the wealth peeking out here and there. That's the thing. I can't go 4-wheeling with you. I can't go snowmobiling with you. I can't even go on a bike ride because my bike wheels are all bent up. Their bike's too old. 30 years, Huffies don't last that long, Needs new wheels, all warped or something. I don't know. Yeah, the poor is separated from his neighbor. People don't want to be with the poor guy, but they do want to be with the wealthy guy and the guy with the water slide in his yard and the guy with the 3 or 4 kids' forts on his property and the guy with the, like I said, that's like, I technically am poor, but I own a small piece of property that was very inexpensive when I bought it, but I've converted it with my own hands into a really nice place for kids to hang out. And so my kids have friends. I don't have tons of friends, but but people like to come visit. My kids like to be here. And I haven't missed much from neighbors. Actually, most of my friends, my neighbors, it's just because I get along with them. That's all I can say. I get along with all my neighbors. They're friendly acquaintances. I have a lot of friendly acquaintances. That's the thing. I don't want to give this impression like I try to be friendly. I'm not good at it. And also, like I said, because of my poverty, I can't make a lot of offers and stuff to make friends. If I could put on like a party, I'm in my summer bash. Come on, everybody. It's like we do put on little parties and stuff, and it's often a little bit of a headache for me. So I understand that. I don't care. I came out here because I didn't crave neighbors or many neighbors. I never knew many neighbors back in the suburbs, really. Just the ones real close, right? Very cold. I think society's gotten even colder. The love of many shall wax cold. Many will entreat the favor of the prince. Oh, a false witness shall not be punished. He that speaketh lies shall not escape. Just very much a aspirational proverb. This is how it should be. This is how we should have it. Now, sometimes false witnesses do go unpunished. Sometimes they do escape justice, or so it seems. Because remember, Proverbs believes in cosmic justice. That's what I would say about Proverbs. Like Thomas Sowell will say, he'll say, in the world, you never get cosmic justice. That's the problem with, as he sees it, with liberals. He sees them as looking for cosmic justice. I mean, there has to be everything kind of made right so that everybody gets the same sort of thing, and everybody is happy, and everybody's this and every. But that will never work, not on earth, not with men as they are. Maybe with Christ. I bet we'll get close in the 1,000-year kingdom, but because men are still present, there's going to be an issue. Because men will still be present, and I mean unglorified men. Men of the earth, we know them today, will still be around 1,000 years after Christ's return. Interesting. But so yeah, the Proverbs believes in this cosmic justice, though, meaning the wicked are always punished. They're always punished. They never, ever, 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 ever get away with it. That's what Proverbs says, and it's right. Because, like I said, if you read the Proverbs, you can't help come away with the feeling that I understand that the Sadducees didn't believe in a resurrection, but the Pharisees did, and they probably did because a lot of what they read in Proverbs. You can't get around it, I think. I mean, you can. Of course you can get around it. You can be a slippery little eel and get around anything if you like by avoiding it. And that's often what happens. Like I said, people will lead you on a breadcrumb trail. They'll show you a scripture here and a scripture there to establish a doctrine, but they don't show you all the scriptures that call it into question. As I said, that's ultimately why if you're a serious Bible student, you will ultimately end up at the Trinitarian position because it's just the right position. Even if you don't like it, you're going to end up with something that looks like it because, quite honestly, it's just because God is not a thing we've ever really dealt with. God is not like us entirely. We're made in his image. That's a very, but God is far and above us, and his nature is not something we can compare anything we've experienced. And we can't experience anything in this world that we could say, oh, God is like that. He's like a light bulb with different wattages. Nonsense. I don't know what that. Anyways, but many will entreat the favor of a prince, and every man is a friend to him that giveth. And that's the thing, is people want the favor of government, right? And when they go to the government for favors, well, they find friends when they come with gifts. And oh boy, they do. Oh boy, they do. Our representative democracy was stolen from us some time ago, I believe. Because it's like, although we still vote, the representatives, the legislation that gets passed has nothing to do with the way we vote. It has almost entirely to do with what the donors want. That's what legislation gets. That's the thing. We don't have the gifts, so we don't get any attention from the prince. So that's why America is in decline. That's why we're wasting billions of dollars on overseas adventures that enrich a very few number of people, that make some people fabulously wealthy at our expense, and our country falls apart. It gets uglier and dirtier, and millions of people start flowing across the border because they're trying to destroy us, I think. They don't care about us, the rich. I mean, they just want their big piece of the pie. They're going to take it. They're going to try anyway. It's like, we'll see what happens. I said, I really fear for what our country is doing, because it can, they talk about blowback. When you fail as an empire, the blowback can be quite tremendous. When empires fall, it can be pretty messy. I'd like that to not be so. As I say, we should choose the manner and the timing of our retirement, or it will be chosen for us. Especially when we go around like fool. I mean, think about it. we print money and we take all the stuff from the world and kind of, it's like when the value of all those things, I mean, it's like that system can't keep gonna fall apart. There's gonna be a price to pay, and everyone pretends like no. It's like that's why it's good to possess things of real value, because when everything gets shuffled around again, you might end up be holding a bunch of paper that doesn't mean anything. It's not worth anything, or a bunch of numbers in an account that now are whatever. That's over. You ever seen anything collapse? It can be quite bad. But anyways, I just think this is a problem in the world. It's a human being problem. I say God believes in cosmic justice. This is a earthly issue, and I don't know. It's not good. And when we let it get out of control, because we've let it get out of control, is what I would say. Like I said, our representatives don't really represent us. They're really representing something else. That's got to be corrected. We got to make them pay. Got to throw them out. People in there. It's going to take some. Is it possible even? I don't know if enough people, when the pain gets good enough, yeah, it's possible. Once it actually happens, like there's no way anyone's going to, the likelihood of us stopping the collapse is probably zero. It's close to zero. Mostly because the people who are in charge just will not do anything, and we won't get them out of charge quick enough. I mean, we've got a demented old man as a president. Cantankerous, warmongering, with blood on his hands of all over the place. And this guy's got blood on his hands everywhere, and he's in our name. In our name. Yeah, we need to take we need to dismantle our war machine. Make it serve protecting our country all it's supposed to. I don't know. Like, the world used to be okay without us, like, dominating it. I don't know. Why do we have to do this? Like I said, all I think it's going to do is get us into trouble. We're in trouble. Wait, all the brethren of the poor do hate him. How much more, like it's exceedingly topical. I mean, how could I not comment on current, right? Current events and events for my entire life. I've been watching this happen. I remember reading about the debt bomb and all, because I'm not talking about the debt so much as the fact that what spurs all this. It's like we're not. We're borrowing money to waste it on destruction. I mean, it annoys me because, like, they say, "Oh, we got no money for the homeless. We got no money for the poor. We got to use austerity to cut back on entitlements and stuff." And I'm not a big fan of those things. Like I said, I'm a huge Thomas Sowell fan, and you know what he thinks? He thinks all that stuff is harmful to society. I'm like, well, we can do a little of that as long as we don't do too much of the other, right? As long as we're fiscally responsible. That's what gets me about Republicans. They always talk about fiscal responsibility when it comes to feeding people and putting them in houses. But when it comes to blowing people up in other countries, they're always ready to spend all the money in the world. Sons of buckets. Touch myself there. Yeah, yeah. But when I see that, I feel like I want to comment. And it's all being driven by the military-industrial complex that we were warned about by Eisenhower. They are driving this war machine. They want more. The war in Ukraine is just an excuse to blow up all the guns so you can make new ones. We destroyed an entire generation in a country. Their army average age is in their 40s now. Because all the young men in Ukraine are dead. Or they fled the country. Good on them. They turn it into a police state to save democracy. Russia is more democratic than Ukraine. At least their dictator's popular. Or whatever, you think he's popular, Mr. They'll be hanging him, parading his dead body through the. He destroyed a generation over there. They're gonna murder. They do. They're going to get. I'm not advocating it. It's just what happens. Like if America collapsed, I mean, wouldn't we offer up the heads of our leaders? I think that's what the country would do. Not a bad idea if you ask me. Here's the guy that tortured people. How would you like? We'll hand him over to you, Iran. How you like that? I think that's a lovely idea. I'm sort of kidding, but also I do think that the people that do such things should not be unpunished. They won't. You won't be unpunished. You can get away with it a little longer. Go ahead and die. Get off the planet. I don't mind. That generation can just perish now. They can go on to judgment. And then if the world needs to continue, we got to fix things. He that getteth, all the brethren of the poor do hate him. Yeah, when you're poor among brethren, you're not loved of the best. Now, again, it's not necessarily so, but it's true. This is why, I'll tell you what, as someone who is cash poor, I'm cash poor. I'm family rich. I'm love rich. I'm spiritual rich. Well, I'm poor in spirit. In that, I try not to become spiritually rich in my mind. That is an important thing. That's what takes these guys down, like Ravi Zachariah. They start thinking they're so important spiritually, and they start making, they think that they're somehow, because of all the things they have to deal with, and somehow they are entitled to maybe break the rules a little bit because they're so special. They're God's like special prophet. And then they'll look at the Old Testament and like, oh, Jacob had 2 wives. Oh, maybe and hey, so there were sometimes the patriarchs saw prostitutes and such things. And they start talking themselves into sin. Well, anyways. Yeah, if the brothers of the poor hate him, how much more do his friends go far from him? He pursues them with words, yet they are wanting to him. I always have very much, I haven't been mindful of this proverb, but I've been mindful of these facts. And so though I'm cash poor, I don't let on. I let on once to a friend. I didn't want to, but that finally came to an end because I couldn't help it. He wasn't a friend at the time. It's probably where we became friends, at least in my mind, because I had a friend. It was part of it had to do with my wrestling club. There's a team fee. And one year I told him, I was starting after him. I'm like, hey man, can you just not cash his check till next week? And because I'm like, it's fine. I just need you to wait. I don't got the money right now. It's like $50. Didn't have the money. Wasn't gonna have it for a week. And I could see it affected him because he got slightly, it was emotion. And he's like, I don't care if I get that from you. There was a little bit of stutter in his voice because I think he felt like he didn't realize that, that hard, It's funny because he forgot. He thought it was because I had so many kids in the program. At the time, I just had 2 in the program. It wasn't that it was going to be, it may have been 3. It may have been $75. Whatever. But recently he asked me to pay it again. And I said, no problem. I said, no problem. And then I didn't tell him that it is a problem. You know why? Because that's what you do. That's what you do for your friends. That's what I do for my friends. Like I say, I don't want to take advantage of my friends. I try to let my friends take advantage of me. I'm your great friend. So let me do something for you. That's why I look at it. I've had people, and the it's also because I don't mean to make you feel bad. I hope people like having things done for them. I generally don't. So I don't know. I do think it is more blessed to give than receive. I do think it's more blessed to serve than be served. I guess that's gone deep down into me or something. Or doesn't everyone feel that way? I do. I generally do. I don't. That's why I don't take donations right now. I mean, I never, ever, as anyone knows, if you manage to donate to me, I never send the money back. No way I could do that. I couldn't. Sorry. Not unless it was something. I did send someone's money back who accidentally donated to me. They thought it was the Shepherd's Chapel. I refunded them. See, and then she felt bad. I know she felt, when I refunded, she got all freaked out, and I'm like, no problem. I need the money back. Wasn't meant to be like that. That's a weird thing. I wonder how people strange to me that people just go clicking on buttons to donate money on strange websites that aren't even, my website isn't like, it says oraclesofgod.org. It doesn't, and if you read the Shepherd's Chapel page, you quickly realize that I don't like the Shepherd's Chapel. Anyways, I don't take donations because I don't want to be a burden to you because I'm poor and I need money. And I don't want you to be thinking, I don't want to be here that this is like, that's why I'm doing this because I need money. Definitely not. And I could probably bring money in, whatever. I don't care. No. You know why? Because I don't want my brothers to hate me. I'd like you to think of me as rich as I am. I only just don't lie about that because it's like, whatever, you got to know. It's just the truth. I'm cash poor. I got a house, not paid off yet. The bank actually. We're getting there. But it's an investment. Right? I get it. I'm like I said, it's not that I got nothing. Yeah, you can. And it's like I said, that to me, that's my wisdom as far as if you choose to be poor, you got to be smart about it and realize, hey, that's my choice. I'm not going to go crying to people about my poverty when it's just because I spend more time doing other things, like working on music, working on videos, making Bible studies. Is more important to me than making money. And I constantly prioritize these things over that. So what? There we go. And also keeping you as a friend. Like, if I'm going to do it, I want to do you good. I want to be your friend. I want to share my riches with you and not take, whatever. I'll take my reward down the line. Whatever. It's like, whatever. The longer I can go without having to need anything from anybody, that's better for me. Like maybe someday I'll be in prison and really need help, whatever. I keep writing music, and in Brazil recently they had a very a man, what do I want to call it? A very serious infringement on the speech rights of people in Brazil. And you can see the way they're going in this country. They're already infringing on our rights. Like I said, my Bible studies have been censored. Because of the things I've had to say about, just because I'll talk about current events. Certain things you're not allowed to talk about. They're going to expand that list. You bet they will. If we let them. If we let them continue to do it, if they get away with it, they will only increase it. And then eventually it'll come to, okay, well then I'm going to get in trouble for the things I've said and the things I'm going to say, because I'm going to say even worse things. And, like I said, and also, I just wonder what's going to happen. I mean, imagine if you, as a prophet of the Lord, spoke death. What would happen? How would they accuse you? How would they prove you'd done anything? Well, he just had a heart attack. He just seems to have dropped dead. There's not a mark on him. Such a strange thing. I think that's going to be where it's hard to deal with the two witnesses. Because of their uncanny ability to defend themselves with their words. False witness shall not be unpunished. And it could just speak to slaying their intentions. It doesn't have to be literal. I'd prefer it like that. I prefer not to be literal. I prefer to just gently use my sword to move aside the blow from against me. A false witness shall not be unpunished. He that gatheth wisdom loveth his own soul. He that keepeth understanding find good. And when you understand, you hang on to it. Because I always think that the building on it thing, Christ is our foundation. Take heed what you build thereon. But you want to build thereon. You want to build. That's the idea of edification. To put an edifice on something, to build it up, to make it look beautiful. Not a fake edifice like that. It doesn't mean like artificial, but the edifice is a beautiful front on the building, the edifice. And to be edified is to be built up like that. It's like built up aspect. Our false witness shall not be unpunished. He that speaketh lies shall perish. Again, another cosmic justice verse of the same sort we had just a second ago with the I did add compression, but I don't think it's working. I can't tell. Actually, my monitor is not what goes in. It's what goes. It's monitoring. It's not a. I don't get the live audio. I think maybe it's possible to put output audio into my ears. I'm gonna look into that. Okay. Foolishness of man pervert. False witness. Okay, we already did that. But notice that is the truth. The ultimate justice will be served. Delight is not seemly for a fool, much less for a servant to have rule over princes. Like when it's, I guess it's inappropriate for a fool to take delight in anything. It's inappropriate. I assume seemly means something like inappropriate. Seemly meaning it seems okay, I guess, or something. Let's say seemly. I'm bringing it up. Not seemly. All right, and I'm bringing it up. Oh, wrong thing. Seemly. Nava. Oh, that's the name of my bird. Nava. Remember Nava? Beautiful. Comely, seemly. Nava. The only one that wasn't named after a demon. Right. I forgot that. JD, Mish, Emosh, Bullock, and Nava. The last birds to die, too. All right, let's go back. So it just means comely or beautiful, seemly. Inappropriate or unbecoming would be a good translation. Unbeautiful. What was delight, though? I should have checked that, right? What is delight here? That might be a little more. Delight. Daintiness, luxury, exquisite delight. Interesting. There. Prudence. I'm just checking these words out ahead. Deferreth his anger, makes long. Okay. We'll do one more verse. I'm seriously thinking about doing another spin-off channel where it's just Bible reading. I'll just read a little. I mean, we'll figure. I'm not sure exactly how much, but somewhere about a half hour maybe of reading, or 20 minutes. Well, 20, and then just stack them out, or maybe just in full chapters. I'm not sure if it's going to be live. I don't think it's going to be live actually, because I don't think I'll have to do much editing. And I might be willing to take that on, so we'll see. I'm certainly willing. I might be strong enough to take that on. Is more what I should say. Flesh is weak. Flesh is the problem. All right. So, new daintiness, luxury, exquisite delight. Okay. And again, it goes to that thing like a fool and his money are soon parted. When you have luxury, exquisite, that's, fools don't appreciate the things they have, and they don't take care of the things they have. And that's why it's unbecoming, because it's like, that fool's going to quickly total that sports car, and he's going to squander his father's fortune, and he's going to end up penniless because he's a fool. That's what happens. That's kind of the idea. Delight is not seemly for a fool. Luxury, it doesn't become him. Fools will soon be separated from all that. And much less for a servant to have rule over princes. Yeah, because it's like a fool being in possession of luxury and of that level of, because the implication is, of course, wealth, right? To have that level of wealth he's not suited to it. And so also a servant. And of course, sometimes servants do have rules over princes because the Lord can raise someone up. But generally speaking, someone who is a servant, because I think of, immediately comes to mind Joseph, right? Joseph, he came in as a slave to Egypt, and he was a servant in the house of Potiphar, but eventually he became even more important than Potiphar, the man who was his owner. So, that does happen. Then he became ruler over all the land of Egypt and second only to Pharaoh. But, of course, that's because he had a more noble spirit about him. There was something about him that made him, not everyone brought into slavery is equal. And in fact, most people who take slaves understood that in those days. And so someone who had skills would be treated differently. If you have no skill, no nothing, and, you're only suited to scrubbing floors and stuff, well then, yeah, you have a servant of that caliber it's unseemly for them to rule over princes, right? And sometimes you have people like that who are ruling over. I mean, I think about, go right to our current president. He's a fool and he's a servant. He's a servant. He's a whore, as he said himself. He wanted to whore himself out to the donors. And he has whored himself out his whole career. And he's a whore to this day. A foolish whore. A servant. A whore is like the most low kind of servant, isn't it? A paid servant of that most base sort. Not really thought of like that, of course, but, you know, human trafficking, right? I mean, though they call it human trafficking, they don't call it prostitution anymore, I noticed. Most of the time, they just say human trafficking. They prefer that, for, I guess. Maybe because, probably because the public is not as against prostitution maybe as they used to be, perhaps. And the law enforcement wants to, they see it up close and in person and understand that prostitution is not just a question of a woman and a willing transaction between two participants. There is, when someone's put in that position where they're selling themselves, even if they're just trafficking themselves or being trafficked by someone else, it's never just this. You can't call it just like, oh, it's just this purely voluntary situation. No way. There are very few people who would voluntarily. There are some women who voluntarily go into that for making money and they get, like in pornography and stuff like that. That is a form of prostitution, of course, and human trafficking. It should be regarded as such. It should all be in the same category because that's all it is. It's just prostitution with a camera rolling. It's human trafficking. You're selling people. You are. It's the selling of human beings in the most base way. Not, again, like it is prostitution. And like I said, a lot of people don't think of it as being like human trafficking, which we think of more of kind of like slavery. Prostitution is kind of like slavery. It is kind of like it, especially if it involves another individual, like a pimp, then it's definitely like slavery. Anyways, into that. Well, whatever. Just that, Joe Biden is a whore, and he's a servant of evil. That's pretty right? He's a servant of evil, and he shouldn't have rule over this country. That's why it's such a mess now. I mean, we're just stumbling into war after war. Because I think the president usually is an individual who actually has a little more sense than like the military-industrial complex, which is just exists to make war and gets excited to make war. I mean, why not? Wouldn't they be excited to be, even though we could have a continual arms industry just to manufacture weapons and to keep things updated and to continually research better weapons, whatever, I guess. Humans are always going to need to defend themselves. I mean, I'm definitely not against defense. Against all the war that is unnecessary war. Wars that we're waging. When I talk about Ukraine, I realize a lot of people in public, they just watch the news and they don't know that like we provoked that war. They literally believe that we didn't. We totally provoked it. We totally provoked it. That's our war. We're at their doorstep. We're at their doorstep. They're not at our doorstep. We're at their doorstep. All right. Delight is not something, yeah. These people have all this luxury and delight. It's inappropriate. Look at it, like, the funny thing is he's such a fool. He should be busted completely. I mean, the guy's got a paper trail a mile long about all of his illegal businesses and stuff. Crazy. The only reason is because they like him as a puppet, because the system would rather be unhinged and unleashed from any kind of leader up there. He serves the system. But the president should control that thing and get it into, that government is out of control. They're censoring my Bible studies, because it's on the behalf of the CDC. I get to say I should be able to say whatever I want. I could say there's demons in the vaccine, all right? I say Pfizer puts demons in there. They have whatever. I'm just kidding, obviously. Speaking facetiously. That's the point, though. I can't joke or even speculate or repeat a rumor. Oh, that's got to be censored. Like I said, that really bugs me. The government doing that. They're not supposed to. It bugs me because I know eventually it's going to lead to, it's just going to get worse. Because that's what happens. If they can get away with it, they will keep getting away with it and do it more because they believe in their own, their own righteousness. They don't understand that's the problem is you get people who are so full of themselves, so foolish at the same time, and don't fear God. The recipe for disaster. The discretion of a man deferreth his anger, and his glory, it is his glory to pass over. Indeed it is. Forgiveness. We went over an hour. I'm going to actually leave the commentary on this verse till next time. Of belaboring the good thing to talk about deferring anger, putting anger off. And also, like I said, passing over transgression, right? Because we all are going to, in our walk, unless we come to Jesus right before we die, we're probably going to sin again. As far as meaning from the time we come to Jesus. Hopefully not from this time, but from that time we did, maybe. Oh, we did. I know I did. But that's what that's what the blood of Jesus is for. It is for our forgiveness. Not just for the sins, but for all sins. For all our sin. It pays for our sin. Like with a capital S, singular. Because our sin goes well beyond just the individual sins. Like I said, we have a deep and indelible flaw, which only God can cure. Must be cured. And the cure is Christ, and we obtain it through faith. So there we go. All right, thanks for joining me. We'll be back again tomorrow. We'll start at verse 11. Try to keep going quickly through this, but without giving each verse its due, with giving each due. Anyways, thanks for joining me. And until next time, remember the testimony is the Spirit.
And the loftiness of man shall be bowed down, and the haughtiness of man shall be made low, and the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day, and the idols shall he utterly abolish, and they shall go to the holes of the rocks, to the caves of the earth, for fear of the Lord, for the glory of his majesty, when he arises to shake terribly the earth. In that day shall a man cast his idols of silver and his idols of gold, which they made every one for himself to worship, to the moles and to the bats, to go into the clefts of the rocks and into the tops of the ragged rocks.